This episode is brought to you with the help from Newbelity. Newbelity is your go-to IT partner offering tailored solutions in talent acquisition, infrastructure support, network reliability, and cutting-edge AI. We help you stay ahead by turning technology into a strategic advantage for your business. Newbelity, turning your challenges into powerful opportunities.
All right, well, welcome to today's Vikings Press Pass. I'm Matthew Nickel, voice of Augustana football, and joining me today is Breyden Smith, wide receiver and kick returner here for the Vikings. So, Breyden, thanks for connecting with me today.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you for having me. Excited to do this.
Brayden, if you wouldn't mind, just for those that are maybe watching, don't know you very well, can you do just kind of just a quick intro about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Breyden Smith. I'm a junior on the football team. I'm number 3. I'm a captain who I'm playing a receiver, kick returner, and punt returner from Arlington Heights, which is a suburb outside of the city. It's just about 2.5 hours from campus. And yeah, junior year, excited.
Well, so Arlington Heights, what kind of brought you to Augie? I know you were looking at Minnesota State and a few others. You're kind of getting some late calls, late interest there. So, why did you ultimately choose Augie?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing was just creating a relationship with the coaches and Augie, specifically Coach Jones, Coach Ragone, and Coach Bell, of course. They were sending me just a lot of love throughout the entire process from beginning, middle to end. And one thing I noticed is a lot of coaches would kind of swarm you at the beginning, and then if you're kind of hesitant, they'll back off and be like, "All right, this guy's not up to our standard. He's not ready to commit right now." That definitely wasn't the coach or case with the coaches here. They were really understanding of my situation. I was back and forth. I was talking to schools at different divisions, so they were understanding of, I might have to travel far to go see schools, or I have to wait a couple extra weeks to go visit. But they were very consistent in their pursuit with me, which I appreciated, and that I definitely created a bond with them more than any other coaches. On top of that, my parents and my father both really loved Coach Bell. Just every time they talked to him, he was very real, which you don't get with a lot of coaches. A lot of those guys will be like, "Oh yeah, you are we need you more than anything," and blah 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 all this. And Coach Bell was definitely he was honest with me. Like he definitely appreciated what I had to offer, and he's like, we want you to get in early. We definitely got some guys, but that's why it's college football. It's not going to be easy to walk in and take over a program or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that and then obviously coming here, seeing the campus doesn't compare to any other campus in the CCIW. So if I were going to go CCIW, I knew that Augie was the spot to be. And then definitely a bunch of other little things that went into it, but I'd say those are the top 2.
I like it. No, we love having you, obviously. Been a tremendous add to, not only the school, but, just to the overall program. And I was looking at your signing class, and, that was at Mihajlo Jovanovic. I mean, he's over at Wesleyan as an
Yeah,
offensive lineman. So I know he was one of the, I think, 4 that signed from your class that I knew was still around for sure, kind of playing. So.
yeah,
Well, hey, we're in week 5 of the season. Vikings are 2-1. It's this week is homecoming week. It's family weekend. So, just a lot going to be going on. Um, Coming out of, certainly we came away with a win, this past week at Millikin. And I knew, you and I talked just a little bit before we kicked this off here. But what were some thoughts, on Saturday's game and kind of leading up into this week so far?
yeah. So Coach Ragone and Coach Bell and Coach Jones really put a big emphasis on winning one week at a time. Obviously we want to look down the road and see those bigger games, but they really put an emphasis on the fact that every game is a big game. We can't get to our goals if we don't win one week at a time. And I think last week we definitely did not undermine Millikin. They played a great game, and I give a hand to them for that. But we played down to a level that is not fit to our standard, and I think it showed. After that, a lot of us guys, a lot of the leaders got together, and we took it with a grain of salt in the sense that we're going to learn from what we did wrong. We're not going to let it mentally get in our way for the weeks ahead, but we need to fix this. And I think going into this week, another big emphasis of ours was taking pride in everything we do, especially offensively. Our offensive unit talked about, we need to be out there, have more pride in the fact that we're playing college football and we do it to a high standard. And I think it really showed this week. This has been one of the better weeks of practice I've been a part of in my 3 years here, and I'm excited to lay out on Saturday.
Well, it's good. Yeah, I mean, going back a little bit to the Millikin game, I mean, it really felt like we weren't playing Augustana football, what we've seen and known, over the last few years. Um, felt like it was a little bit of our backs were against the wall. But I know you provided a great spark there, in that special teams, punt return unit. I know, in fact, this past Monday you were named CCIW Special Teams Player of the Week after that 52-yard, punt return touchdown. I mean, that was just with a little over about 4 minutes left in the game. So,
Yeah.
gosh, I mean, overall, talk to me about how maybe the special teams units, not only just really stepped up Saturday, but I would say over the last couple of years, it seems like they have really evolved the game. In essence, has been a game changer for us in a number of different ways.
Yeah, so Coach Ragone, every year going into the season, he talks about the first 3 weeks. First 3 weeks of special teams can win games. Special teams can win a game every week, but the first 3 weeks is teams are going to be most vulnerable in their special teams. And I think not only the preparation that the coaches put in, but like me as a returner, knowing the other 10 guys around me are going to know their assignment and they're going to do it with 100% effort because it may not be an offense or defensive snap, but we take pride in special teams here, and it really showed. And just having playmakers like Bobby and Sarah, the 4 years before me, he's been a threat. There's a bunch of guys, Sean Schlanzer back there returning kicks with me. Like we got the weapons to do it, and we got the guys in front of us to lead us through the holes and whatnot. So yeah, we definitely take pride in our special teams. And last week it came up big because we definitely weren't at our best offensively or defensively.
I mean, the special teams unit, right? They only get a couple of plays really, per game. How has the special team unit really improved? Like, are there areas that really stand out to you in terms of where this group has improved over the last couple of years?
I'm sorry, you broke out towards the end. In
Oh,
terms of
sorry.
what?
In terms of the special team unit, how has this group really evolved over the last couple of years, and where have they improved? Is there some areas that really stick out to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the confidence is the biggest thing. Just me being, for me personally, and a couple other guys I could think of, but just going out there, a lot of our special teams units, or in general in college, you're gonna put freshmen out there who are athletes, but maybe not ready to take some of those offensive or defensive reps. So they'll put younger guys out there ready for special teams, and I think freshmen and a couple of our sophomores that are put in those shoes, they're playing with confidence and they're playing with speed, and I think that's the biggest thing at this level of football is playing with confidence. Because once you can do that, it's really just you against you. And so grateful to have younger guys do that. And then we also have a lot of older guys, which I've noticed more than the other years. Older guys in on special teams units, so there's a lot of trust in there between us because we've been playing for the past couple of years, and
Mhm.
trusting Coach Ragone to switch up the schemes and know that we're going to get the job done regardless of what's going on around us.
So looking ahead to tomorrow's game, what do the Vikings really need to do to kind of right this ship and really start to play up to, really the team's potential?
Yeah, I think as an offensive guy, I think offensively we need to come out fast. I think the past couple of years, really, there's been times in games where we should be blowing up right away that we just come out slow. Like we'll get it together eventually, but with teams like North Park who have really stepped up the past 2 years, like we got to come out fast offensively. And I know the points will come down, or will come through later down the stretch of the game, but if we want to beat a team like this, we gotta get points early in the first quarter. We got to put good drives together at least to build up that momentum, and then I think we'll be rolling. We got a lot of age and experience on our offensive side, so we got no excuse to not get the job done. It's really us against us, and that's the thing I love about our offense.
Now, coming out of your, sophomore year, that's when all of the entire process of nominating captains, going into the next year. I mean, coming into your junior year, that's a pretty significant feat. So, I mean, one, congratulations on that. It's tremendous to
Thank
be
you.
a captain. But what was your reaction, when you found that out?
I was of course excited. I think regardless of me being named a captain or not, I was still going to take on that role of trying to be a vocal leader. I'd say, each of us captains lead in a different way, and I think for me, it's just being a vocal leader and also leading by example. I think regardless of the title, we can name 10 other guys on the team a captain. It's really just about having that trust in whoever that is given that title, and I'm grateful for it. But at the end of the day, it's just a title. Like I want to lead us to victories, to success, to whatever the case may be, regardless of what that title is for me. But I'm definitely was excited. Definitely, being a junior, I know Hugh Keeney was also a junior captain, so just taking a lot of pride in that. But also like that type of stuff can't get to your head, and it's just a title. It's more of a duty than it is a congratulations because it's college football. You got a lot of responsibility with that. So definitely grateful for it.
How would you describe kind of your leadership style? I mean, are you like a do, show, teach, kind of a quiet leader? Are you pretty vocal out there, more of a by example? What would you kind of characterize
Yeah.
as your style?
Um, I think leading by example is most efficient because there could be guys yelling and screaming in the weight room, but if they're hiding in the bathroom after they're done with that and not doing their sets, for example, or those guys who are emphasizing putting work in when no one's watching, but they're not out there in on the field during the winter or whatever the case may be. I think for me, it's just taking pride in what you're preaching to other guys and doing it
Mhm.
100% from your own side, and guys will follow within that. Like I can think of, for example, I did a lot of like ball drills against the wall in the weight room after lifts, and it started as just me, but now I can think of 3 other sophomores that are doing it almost daily, and that stuff translates to the field. So I think leading by example is most efficient, but I also like to turn the guys up, in the weight room on the field before practice. Someone makes a good play, just being there to vocalize and create momentum, it's a big thing for our team, momentum moving forward.
Who are some of the Viking players, when you were a freshman, sophomore, that, really kind of helped, mentor you and provide you kind of guidance early on?
Yeah, no, there were no doubt a bunch of guys. I think the biggest for me was simply because we both were little receivers, same mindset going to the game, both return specialists, Bobby and Sarah. I even still talk to him almost daily, even though he's graduated and back home. But he really, I take pride in believing that I've always had the mindset. Someone's always out there working harder than you, and you just got to keep pushing. But it was when I got here that like I got to see that in someone else's shoes. And Bobby never left anything out on the field. Like that guy would go to war if for anyone. So I mean, seeing him, his style of play, his how he acted on the field, and how he got there because of how he acted off the field, that really inspired me to try to pass it down to some of these younger guys now.
Well, you can't name someone any better than Bobby and Sarah. So I mean, he was not only dynamic, but I mean, you really kind of felt a shift of when he was on and when he was off that field, and the impact that he made, and their leadership
No
on that
doubt.
that field. So now, when you started as a freshman, in kickoff duties, I knew we really had a nice 1-2 punch, right, with you and Sarah. Um, Coming into this season, you were third on kickoff return yards, and you're 1,056 yards. I think coming into today, you're like 119 so far. So you're sitting at kind of number two. So really, 19 yards puts you as number one, over like Alec Jacobs, who was here from 2017 to 2020. Um, A, how does that feel? And then B, I mean, have you even really thought much about it, or even paid any attention to it?
No, I remember after my freshman year, Coach Rose, who helps out with the stats a lot, he's our strength and conditioning coach. He brought it up to me, but I haven't really tuned in with it. If there's one takeaway, I'm very hard on myself about kick return is that I haven't put one officially in the end zone. I keep getting maybe cross the 50, and then
Hmm.
something happens, or I just got to turn on those jets. So I mean, I definitely that's great to hear, but I'm excited to keep making plays for us. Hopefully, regardless of where I stand on that leaderboard. But yeah, no, it's definitely cool. I had no idea, so I try not to
Well,
think about it.
no, I know, and it's tough, and me on the other side, right? I've got to find good opportunities to promote, players and some of the great things we do. And I just remember I think your longest was that 75-yard against Wheaton your freshman year, I believe, if I remember correctly. Um, but I think, it's just been kind of this culmination of how our special teams has continued to evolve, and kind of getting all the pieces put in place. And, the last couple of years, it's like, your average return is about 24 yards. And honestly, that hasn't really happened since the 50s. And 91, 92 is like 25 with Steve Lindmark. Brad Price back from the 80s was like 28. So, I think about just the culmination of what that special teams unit continues to deliver, week in and week out for field position, providing a spark when we need
Yeah.
it. There's a lot of really good stuff that's happening there that I think, when you're on the field and that unit's on the field just a couple of times a game, the impact can be huge. So I think that's pretty awesome, regardless. Um, so you were at Hersey High School, so you were a Husky. Back there at
Yeah.
Arlington Heights, I know. You had a little over 500 yards. I think your senior season. Your junior year, I know, is like some of the COVID stuff. So I think you only had like 2 games. I think officially, maybe on the calendar. But what I thought was interesting, because I was again deep on Twitter and in the research here. You spent a number of years on the TNT Ignite 7-on-7. So,
Yeah.
I knew you were part of like the 16 and under championship team. I think you even won the Top Gun Chicago 2021 tournament, if I remember correctly. Um, so as I was thinking about, coming into your college years, with really a full season of your senior and your sophomore year, did some of that stuff, being a part of that team, kind of um, you know, help, I don't know, fill in the gap for some development and some of those things leading into your senior year and really coming into college?
Yeah, I mean, 1,000,000%. Coach Bell even has brought it up to me, like, I've seen really big strides in your development, like even over like winter break or whatever the case might be. And so TNT, Tom Nelson Training, he has a 7-on-7 program, but he also does speed development and strength training. So he's got his whole program. So I've been going to him since even before I was 16, probably since I was, yeah, maybe 15 or 16. But I've been going there for about 5 or 6 years, and he was also our offensive coordinator. So I was damn near living with that guy. I was with him all the time. He's transformed me into a player I 100% would not be without him and his staff. So I mean, I'm grateful to have them. Playing 7-on-7, we got to play with a lot of. I played with a couple guys on my high school team, but it was really just like the best guys in our conference or the two conferences around us. So I was playing with guys that were going to D1 schools, just playing it at a higher competition level and being able to keep up with those guys. I think aside developing athletically, it was a huge confidence boost for me. Just knowing that I'm competing with these guys. It was 7-on-7. We didn't have the pads on, but just like from a technique stance and skill and speed, just knowing that I can run with these guys. So why can't I make plays coming into my freshman year regardless of my age? So that not only athleticism but confidence and just understanding the game from new perspectives. That was huge for me in my development.
Well, I think, it continues to show that the gap really between D1 and D3 is a lot tighter than most people really think. At the end of the day, like certainly there's your outliers that are just freaks of nature, right? But at the end of the day, like it's a pretty slim gap. And, I was watching some of the highlights. I mean, you were putting a number of these dudes on skates, having a lot of fun with it, making great catches. What were some of your best memories of kind of being, with those teams and playing in some of those tournaments?
Yeah, with 7-on-7, I think my favorite memory was that Top Gun tournament because that was a national qualifier tournament to go down to Florida. And we were just a bunch of suburban kids, playing teams that were coming in from Michigan and Iowa. Like they came to this tournament specifically because they knew it was a qualifier tournament. and we played Boom 7-on-7, which is one of the nationally recognized 7-on-7 programs. We beat them. We played like a bunch of other high up there teams, and we're just this one program, not really franchised. We're just a couple age groups and putting together our best guys, and we won that tournament. And then we ended up not being able to go to Florida, where we were supposed to be playing like teams just loaded with 5 stars. I'm pretty sure Travis Hunter was at that tournament that we were supposed to go to, but we ended up not going because one of our quarterbacks had a camp to be at. Like a couple of us had the ACT. Like it just goes to show, like we were just out there having fun and balling, and then the next week we couldn't go because of like the ACT or like stuff
Right.
like that, where like these guys are living for 7-on-7 tournaments. So that was so much fun for me. That was definitely the most fun I've had playing 7-on-7.
It's funny. We after we graduated, a number of us put together a flag football team. We were doing the same thing. We were traveling to Chicago. We're playing all over the Midwest. And then I remember when I moved out to Denver, I was playing for Combo, and we were playing against like the Gamblers that are out there, and a lot of those teams that
Mm-hmm.
kind of travel all over. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. It's a good way, kind of post Augie to keep kind of keep things moving. But yeah, there's some
No
people that
doubt.
live for the day. So.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, Now this is not your first podcast ever. You were featured in the January 2022 episode of Hershey Hoops,
Oh yeah.
alongside Coach Scott. So I watched that last night. You shared some pretty good memories, right? Two, I will say, involved a trash can. Um,
Oh yeah. Uh,
one of your buddies kind of
and then,
tossed you in, and another one I think
yeah.
for a joke, right? Fell into one. But so that being said, switching to Augustana, I mean, what have been some one or two memorable things that have happened so far, at school, in your career, just in your Augie experience?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. I don't know what I can say with this camera in front of my face, but there's a lot. I think football wise, just something we didn't do in high school like we do now is a club dub after games. Coach Ragon we'll all wait for him to get in the locker room after a game. He'll like slowly creep up. Once he gets in, we'll just go berserk. If anyone's got a water bottle, watch out. It's flying. Like it doesn't matter what liquid you got, it's flying. We feel kind of bad because it might be a messy cleanup, but like just that environment, just winning a football game with those guys, and then also being so close with each other that you're celebrating like that after really brings out that family aspect, and then just outside of that, knowing whenever I see guys around, whether it's in the classroom or out socially, like it's the same thing in the locker room or out there. Those guys are my brothers. Like I'll protect them, they'll protect me. But thankfully, it doesn't have to come down to that all the time. But when we're just relaxing, those
Hmm.
like some of these guys, like they'll be at my wedding. So like it's grateful to know I got guys like that.
Well, they always talk about Augie family, right? They continue to preach that. So, we see it
Forget
not
about
only
me. I
just in the
love you.
locker room, but man, parents and the tailgate, and just it's pretty cool to be a part of. Now, I
Yep.
believe you had mentioned in that podcast that your pregame snack was a PB&J, like 30% jelly or 30% peanut butter, the rest is
Yep.
jelly. I mean, has that been robust enough to handle the test of time here to Augie, or have you kind of moved to something else?
I definitely have a new. Well, first of all, I'm definitely very spoiled. My mom would make it. She would cut the crust, put it in a triangle. I don't have that skill to do that with my peanut butter and jellies. No, I'm kidding. I just get lazy and we'll just eat whatever's in the CSL. But I'd say for now, like the past since freshman year, like before our game, even if it's a 12 o'clock game and we have 45 minutes in between meetings and having to be back at the field, I have to take a nap. Like even if it's an 8 minute nap, I'll do that. Like for me, it's more of just like a mental restart. Like it clears any anxiety. I don't get nervous for games, but like I'm always thinking about a lot. Like got to make sure everything goes right today and whatever the case might be. But taking a nap before games is mandatory. Also, I never walk to the or drive. I never pull up to the stadium with my game day socks. I got to have a new pair of socks. I have something about fresh socks right before I put my cleats on. Just makes my feet feel a little more explosive for the game. So naps and pregame socks. Those are my pregame routine.
I was going to be curious, what other like pregame, routines that people have. So, and it's so personal and unique to them, and whether it's just you look good, feel good, play good, kind of what I always said. So, even when my boys are getting ready for their games, I'm like. My wife's like, well, "Why are you getting them this cleats?" And why I'm like, "You got to look good, feel good, play good. If you're mentally in that
No
space,
doubt.
you can play it to the best of your ability." So, um, now, business, marketing, and political science is kind of been your focus. I guess what has really kind of drove you down that lane, as you think about like career paths and whatever life after football means, when that ever happens. Um, what does that mean for you in using those degrees?
Yeah. So honestly, I had a bit of a midlife crisis this year. I talked to my counselor coming into the year, and I was gonna keep marketing, but I wanted to switch from political science to engineering. I did 1 week's worth of classes, and I was like, this is just not for me. I'm going back to political science. So that was a whole worry because there was within that week I was like figuring out how to add and drop classes, and I almost dropped too many classes, so I wouldn't have been eligible for the Wheaton game, which almost was the case, but I we figured it out. But so now that I'm back on political science and marketing, just some backstory on that. Like leaving high school, I always had ambitions of being a sports agent, and I don't know where it stemmed from. I think just the aspect of law and combining it with sports and just contracting and all that was definitely intriguing to me. It may have been, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Ballers with
Mm-hmm.
The Rock, where he's
Yep.
a retired athlete. I don't know if I just envisioned that lifestyle would be everything of being a sports agent, but I've come to realize there's a lot more work and a little less play with that. But I'm still on that track. Yeah, I'm definitely still glad I switched back to political science because it's definitely something I'm interested in. And regardless of if I go that route with sports agency, I know the political science I've also considered and going into like some type of agency, like FBI type of work. So something along that career path. I know there's a lot of open windows with political science, so definitely going to stay on that track. No more switching back.
Well, Augie is a great, is a great undergrad, going into law school. I mean, Luke Sawicki, he's getting his law degree from I can't remember where he's at right now, but or maybe he already just finished it recently, but um, yeah, I saw. I mean, your freshman year, you were one of seven on the team that had a 4.0. Where does that drive and kind of focus come from?
Yeah, I'd say really. Well, my parents are huge advocates of, as much as you love football, school first, and as crazy of supporters they are in me in football, which I'm tremendously blessed to have. They are even more on top of me about my schoolwork. So I think it wasn't even a pressure from them. It was more of an expectation. I didn't want to let them down, and they were always there to guide me through it all. So that kind of put a drive in me to, I want to be successful because they've put all this time into me. So it's only fair I could at least give my 100% in the classroom as well as on the field. That was a big part of it. And then I don't know, maybe it's just the OCD because I feel like if I don't do something perfect with an assignment, I have to restart it. Or the same with like workouts. Like I just have this like I don't know this annoying desire to do everything right. So it's a pain sometimes, but it works. It pays off a good amount of times as well. So
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of that stuff's going to transition to the real world, man, because, discretionary effort is such a big part of being successful, within your career. Um, I always like to say I'm never going to be the smartest probably in the room, but I'm certainly going to be the hardest worker. And 9 times out of 10, that's gonna put you, ahead of any peers. So, um,
no doubt.
who's been a big influence on you kind of growing up, throughout your career and just life?
Yeah, I'd say mom and dad. I'm grateful to have them both very involved in my life. That's the obvious answer. I could talk to them for hours, talk about them for hours. I think one that, I've always noticed, but as I'm getting older, realize why I hold myself to a high standard is God. I'm a very faithful person, individual, and I like to hold myself to a standard that, I believe Jesus Christ died for my sins, so I try to pay that back, and I think that's why I try to be the best version of me. But there's countless other influences I've had. High school coaches, grandparents, a number of people. My little brother, especially, want to set a good path for him. A lot of people go into what makes me want to be the best I can.
Well said. Can't put it better than that. All right. Lastly, this is a softball question, but it's more personal for me. Who has the best tailgate food that need to be checking out after every
Oh my
home
gosh.
game?
All right, so I'm gonna try to keep the biasness out of it. So I won't say any people I tailgate with or my mom. I mean, I would say it's my mom, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna say if I gotta walk at least 25 feet away from my lot, I'm going to the Breedens. They've got the big RV. They've got a platter of food. I don't know a time where I won't try to sneak over there and say what's up. I mean, we're good friends as well, but that food is just phenomenal. I would definitely make a way over to the Breedens.
I like it. I like it. Well, Braden, I appreciate connecting with me today. Tomorrow's a big game. A ton of people are going to be there. Do you expect a ton of family to come down, on your end, or kind of who you expecting to see tomorrow?
Yeah, both my parents and my siblings will be there, which I'm grateful for. Every game they make the travel, so that's great. My grandparents and a couple of my cousins usually come to games. I believe they have a wedding this weekend, so this will be one of minimal games that they miss. But I'm completely understanding of that. A lot of so this is probably the first year for me where the alumni and just homecoming. This is more of a bigger weekend because those guys that graduated with. From last year, I'm very close with. So them coming back is definitely a little bit of that extra motivation. I've texted about 5 or 6 of them that I'm looking forward to seeing tomorrow, before and after the game. So seeing guys like that, is really exciting. Like Aaron Lopez, or Aaron Aaron Lopez, Mark Barron, Chase Tatum. There's a couple other guys. I'm excited to see all of them because they paved the path for us to be in the situation we're in now, and now they're going to be watching us from the stands. So it's a bit of a new uh, dynamic, but I'm excited to put on for them.
Well, good. Well, so I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know, I'm gonna be there super early. I think around like 8:30, just so I can get a spot. I didn't get the tailgate tag this year, and I was just kind of late to the game. But so I gotta get there early to find a good spot and get set up. So
Yeah, should be packed. Should be a
it
packed
should be a good
house.
time. Absolutely. Well, hey, I appreciate you jumping on with me today. Certainly look to connect maybe tomorrow before or after the game if I see you. But certainly good luck
Would love
tomorrow,
to.
and good luck to the rest of the Vikings. And let's go get win number 58 against North Park.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.